Said good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another Bible study here as we're going to go through the last section of Ecclesiastes chapter 2. And if you haven't been looking at this series so far, of course, you can catch it on YouTube. And if you're streaming this on Facebook or any other social media platforms, you can find it by clicking the link in the description in the comment section. But anyway, here so far, we've walked through the overview of what Ecclesiastes is. And it's simply a book in the Bible that reflects on typically everything that we have in life, right? So we'll look at success, we'll look at work, we'll look at family, we'll look at God and how he fits into the picture of our lives. And we're truly just gonna analyze, everything that happens across the scope. And so far, we've went through the very first chapter in which, King Solomon, the author of this book, one of the wisest men that has ever lived, simply says that, life itself is emptiness. And he begins to walk through, the things that happen. He walks through the cycles of life, the cycles of our jobs, the cycles of nature, and he begins to contemplate, can there really be anything found in this that's, lasting? Is there any lasting value, any lasting purpose? Is there any fulfillment that can be found, in the day-to-day tasks of our lives? And after that, we shifted over to chapter 2 a little bit, where we begin to talk about self-indulgence. We talked about pleasure. We talked about foolishness. We talked about, pursuing wisdom and all of those things. And now today we're at the last section of that. And today we're simply going to talk about success. We're going to talk about work itself and the value that it may bring people in their lives. And I truly hope and pray that this will be an amazing discussion with you, and that you will truly, after this, have a better idea of what success means to you, and then also how to pursue it moving forward. And with that being said, going to do something a little different here as well. We're going to start with prayer, and we're just going to dive into this and see where the rabbit hole goes and the Lord takes us. All right. So with that being said, let's pop into it with a prayer and let's get started. So Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this time. And we just ask that as we go through this Bible study, that you will open our hearts and our minds to receive all of the things that you desire for us to receive, Father, and that our lives will forever be changed and our vision of success and will be aligned to the counsel of your will. And it is in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. So, with that being said, y'all, we're going to pop over to the actual Bible verse. Once again, I'm using the Step Bible app to carry you through this Bible study. It's an amazing app that you can get either on your phone or on the website. And it actually walks you through not only the summary of the Bible, the summary of the books that you read and the chapters, but it also gives you the ability to see the meaning behind the words that we read in the Bible. And that is particularly beneficial if you're somebody that's doing Bible study, because it'll help you get a better, understanding of what the verse actually means. And then also, how it plays into the bigger part of our faith. So it's definitely a tool that I recommend. And then, of course, if you need any tips or guidance on this, I would be happy to put out a series, teaching you all how to do this in your own personal Bible study. But as you can see here, getting back to the series itself, we're in Ecclesiastes chapter 2, and we're going to start from verse 18, where the title of the section says Vanity of Toil. And here, in the words of King Solomon, he says that I hated all my toil at which I have toiled under the sun, seeing that I must leave it to the man who will come after me, and who knows whether he will be wise or a fool, yet he will be a master of all of which I toil and use my wisdom under the sun. This is also vanity. So I turned about and gave my heart up to despair over all the toil of my labors under the sun, because sometimes a person who has toiled with wisdom and knowledge and skill must leave everything to be enjoyed by someone who did not toil for it. This is also vanity and a great evil. What has man from all of the toil and striving apart which he toils beneath the sun? For all his days are full of sorrow, and his work is a vexation. Even in night his heart does not rest. This is also vanity. And so here, as we go through this particular passage of the Bible, King Solomon begins to talk about, how he hated his labor, how he hated the things that he has done. And despite all of the success that he may have achieved on this earth, despite, all of the gardens and stuff that he planted, despite all of the gold and silver that he has, despite the servants that he has in his temple, and despite his 1,000 wives, I might add in there, right? He says that at the end of his life, after doing all of these things, it brings no value to him, because ultimately he's going to leave in this world the same way he came in, and that was without any of those things, right? And then the thing that's on top of that is that who's to say that the person that comes after him, the next king of Israel, is going to be somebody who's even going to value the stuff that he has, or if he's going to be someone that is going to essentially destroy all of the work and the success that he's made so far. And ultimately, as I sit down and I think and I contemplate on that, it makes me think about success in our world today and how we're all on this journey to, amass success. We're people that are out there that are trying to build legacies. We're trying to build businesses. We're trying to establish our families, not only with, emotional support, but also the tangible resources that they can use to, sustain their lives and their people. And the thing about that is that, while we may be people that may be on this journey, while we may build all of those things, there really is no guarantee that, the world or even our children are going to be in a place where they're going to be able to not only sustain, but grow the stuff that we leave behind. And it's just something when you think about life as a whole. And it's something that we see all of the time when it comes to success, because you'll see someone, even in the terms of ministry, like they'll raise up, they'll be an incredible leader, in the body of Christ. And then once their lives are done, once they pass on, the person that comes after them only destroys the legacy that they spent most of their lives building. And when you think about that, it kind of puts you in a place once again of understanding, what true success looks like. Is success only, for our generation? Is it only for us as an individual, or if it's something that should last for generations to come? And then the thing that follows after that, in my eyes and my thought, is that even if we last for generations, what does that look like? Like, how do we leave behind more than just tangible resources and truly give people behind us the skill and the access needed to sustain or grow the things that we have? And it just leads me to the point that, our legacy in life, our work that we have goes far beyond us just, accumulating resources or us just trying to sustain our families without really teaching them, the values and stuff that we've learned over time to get to where we are. So ultimately, if you're someone who wants to go out and do those things, if you're someone who wants like a lasting legacy, then, you have to think about how you're not only going to pass down your physical resources, but once again, the knowledge, your values, your beliefs, your faith, if you believe in God, to the people that are coming up. And it might not even be family. It could just be people that, that are under you, people that want to be mentored by you, people who are inspired by you, right? Like, how can you tangibly pass those things down to them? And this is something that, the Lord has brought to my mind heavily over the past few weeks. And that is why ultimately I've been live streaming as much as I have and just really talking to everyone out there. And most importantly, putting the stuff on YouTube, because ultimately everyone, it'll be on social media, of course, like Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and all that stuff is cool. But ultimately, YouTube is really the best place to put your videos and your content, because, years from now, 20, 30, 40 years, unless YouTube just shuts down and leaves the face of the earth, right? People are going to be able to go back and look at those videos and see the journey that you crossed in life. And it's even led me to this extent of actually start writing down, my beliefs and my values, write down stories of my faith so that I can pass those down to my children, so that I can pass those down to anyone else that may be inspired by me and desires to truly know my life and how to overcome the issues that I have dealt with, in their lives as well. And so, that's something that you want to think about. That's something that you want to contemplate. And once again, when it comes to the overall measure of success and our work and things like that, that is something that you want to consider in the grand scheme of, your legacy and the things that you want to leave behind. But with that being said, Solomon here, once again, he claims these things up to vanity, because at this point in time, right, as a man who has accumulated all of these things at the end of his life, he questions whether or not, they're valuable in his sight, and that if the people that come behind him are going to be able to sustain or grow, the legacy that he has established. But here he also says that he turned about in verse 20 to give his heart up to despair over all of the toil of his labors under the sun, because sometimes a person who has worked for wisdom and knowledge and skill must leave everything to be enjoyed by someone who did not work for it. And so here he kind of goes once again into the whole process of contemplating his life and contemplating, the accumulation of resources, because he's saying here that, although he worked hard to accumulate all of these things, he's just going to leave it behind for someone else to enjoy. And when you look at our lives and you look at our work, most of the time, the work and stuff that we do is pretty difficult, everyone. I mean, some people spend 80, 90, 120 hours a week, building their businesses, and they don't even really get to enjoy, the fullness of what their businesses bring because they're so busy trying to sustain it. And then at the end of their life, ultimately, the people that are going to benefit from it are going to be the people around them, the people that, will enjoy the money that they've made. They will enjoy like the benefits from insurance or, shelter or anything else that they may have gotten out of you, like running your business. And to some extent, it could be a miserable feeling because it's like you work so hard to find freedom. You work so hard to find, your ideal life, but at the same time, you're not able to fully enjoy it. But the people that are around you in your immediate circle are. And so when you look at that and the whole process of, like I said, Solomon looking at his life and knowing that all of the stuff that he's accumulated over the years will be passed on to someone else to enjoy, it can, if you look at it in the wrong perspective, put you in a place where, you're depressed. Like, you're trying to find like meaning in these things, but ultimately this kind of brings the same weight in the concept that the first, topic did. And that's simply that, we shouldn't look at these things as burdens in our lives, but we should truly enjoy the experiences that we have. Like, we should enjoy like building our business. We should enjoy building our legacies. We should enjoy, even to some extent, the struggles and stuff that come in our lives and challenge our faith. We should enjoy like this walk and this relationship that we have with God. And we should see these as, beautiful and joyful things that we can pass on to the people that come after us, right? So that they can, learn from the lessons that we've endured. They can learn from our struggles and truly have a better life in every sense of the word. And so here, once again, this is just one of those perspective shifts of not necessarily seeing the worst in success, but looking at success far beyond our immediate lives and the things that we want to do. So with that being said, moving forward, right, we're going to pop over to verse 22 here in the Step Bible app. And it says that what has a man from all of the toil and striving of heart in which he toils beneath the sun? For all his days are full of sorrow, and his work is a vexation. Even at night, his heart does not rest. This is also vanity. And everyone, this more or less kind of comes back to the point I was saying before and about how, we spend so much time, in our lives building our legacies and building our businesses that we don't really, find joy and find freedom in those things. But our mind is constantly spinning, right? What can we truly gain from, work that simply stresses us out, or work that we can't leave, behind and simply enjoy, the lives and stuff that we have. And once again, this kind of puts me into the perspective of, looking at life holistically and really seeing beyond the value of it. And that has been something that the Lord has been dealing with me specifically on lately, because, one of the things that, I've struggled with in my life is that I've always been a person that, loves work. Like, I enjoy the stuff that I do. Well before, I got into ministry, I was in technology, and I would spend hours and hours on end building websites, building apps, working on projects that, many of didn't see the light of day, but I just enjoyed doing the work. And so, one of the shifts that I've had now as I begin to draw closer to my family, as I begin to, mature, and, as I begin to see, what life looks like on the other side of 25, right? I've come to the understanding that, I can't work the same way that I used to work. And honestly, everyone, the time that I once had is no longer my time. Like, I have to think about, what that stuff is going to look like for my future wife and my children. Like, what is that going to look like for all of my siblings that I have? What is that going to look like for like my mom, my dad, my uncle, my grandmother? Like, what are those times and what is my life going to look like in the future, outside of me doing my work? And that has put me in a space to where, every single day that I really just take time off. Like, after a certain hour of the day, I try my hardest to just cut everything off and to truly be in a place where, I can enjoy more time with God. I can enjoy more time with my family, and I can enjoy more time with the people that I love. And although that has been a challenge, I can tell you that by doing that and being able to shut off, that it has made my life so much better. And while I haven't mastered it by any sense of the word, right, while I still haven't overcome and conquered, my desire to work even during those times yet, right? I can tell you that my life has been so much better because of it. And I'm looking forward to, being able to be in a place where I can enjoy, not only my work, but also enjoy my family as well. And being able to completely separate the two to where I'm fully involved with my work if I work, and then I'm fully involved with my family when I'm supposed to be. And the two don't come across and hinder each other. But ultimately, as I said before, on your journey to success, ultimately, that is one of the best things that you can do, everyone, because while it is so great, while it's so exciting, it can be so, fulfilling to work on our careers and work on our businesses and build our legacies in that tangible way. The most important legacy that we have is with our family and the people that we love, because once again, when it's all said and done, we can replace and we could always build up our legacies and things, but we're not going to always have the people in our lives, and we're not going to always have healthy relationships with them. So we should try our hardest in every way possible to sustain those relationships as much as we possibly can, and just continue to pour ourselves into them and allow them to grow, because ultimately, that's what we're going to leave behind. We're going to leave behind the people that we love here on this earth, and our memory, the things that we've done and things of that nature, and the impact that we had will live through them. And that's something that, God truly emphasizes in the Bible, which is why when you read the Bible, particularly in the Old Testament, you always see the genealogies mentioned, even if you don't see the lives of those people that are written about expressed, because, that's ultimately what this world is about. It's about, falling in love with him and falling in love with the people that he's created. And when you begin to align your perspective to those things over, the material possessions and the things that we can have on this earth, it'll truly change your perspective, and it'll allow you to see your faith and particularly God in a different way. You won't see him as much of a judge as, people would paint him out to be, or you won't see God as somebody who simply wants to force you to live a certain life, but you will begin to truly see the value of everything that he teaches us in the Bible, and you'll truly be able to experience a relationship with him that will forever change your life. And so ultimately, in this point and in these verses, the thing that I've come to the conclusion of is that, once again, there's a cutoff point with our work, and we have to be able to separate that from our families in order to enjoy the fullness of what God really wants us to experience in life. So with that being said, that is actually the first section, everyone. The next point of this is going to come from Ecclesiastes chapter 2, verse 24. And this is Solomon simply expressing and summarizing up the things that are here. And he says here that there is nothing better for a person than he should eat, drink, and find enjoyment in his toil. This also I saw is from the hand of God. From apart from him, who can eat and who can have enjoyment? For to the one who pleases him, God has given wisdom and knowledge and joy. But to the sinner, he has given the business of gathering and collecting, only to give to the one who pleases God. This is also vanity and a striving after the wind. And so here, everyone, Solomon simply says that there is nothing better for a person that he should do than to eat, drink, and find enjoyment in the work that he has. And so here he simply sums it up that, once again, we shouldn't be so focused on success to where we neglect, our family and the people in our lives. At the same time, we should also be people that shouldn't put an overabundance into the work of life and just having things for having sake, but to instead, simply sit down, relax, and enjoy the work that we have, truly enjoy our lives, enjoy our families, and do those things to where, we're in a place of complete peace. And because as I said before, we shouldn't work so hard to the point to where, our wheels are constantly turning, we're constantly working, and we're not able to enjoy the fruits of our labor. We're not able to enjoy, the money and stuff that we accumulate. We're not able to, take a few days off and just take our minds off of the things that we're working on. But instead, we can fully enjoy, God, and enjoy the life that he's given us, and simply enjoy, as I said before, the people and the things that he's surrounded us behind, instead of being in a place where we're working 24/7 to maintain the stuff that we accumulate but can't truly enjoy. And so here, Solomon says, outside of God, who can eat and find enjoyment in the stuff that they do? And once again, this kind of brings us back to, the true purpose of our lives and the things that we're really doing. Like, what is the true measure of success? And as you can see here, Solomon, even as we went through this whole, section, he talks about, the tangible side of success. He talks about the tangible side of doing these things, but then he also talks about, the reward of, placing your focus on doing these things, right? Because they're in the main sense of it. You're not really going to find enjoyment if you begin to think about what's going to happen to your stuff, after you pass on, or what's the whole purpose in doing all of these things if you don't really get a chance to enjoy it. But once again, when you align your life to what God desires and you begin to see your work as a way to pass on your legacy to other people, to pass on values and lessons that will allow them to have better lives, then it truly alters you to see the purpose and the fulfillment in everything that you can do. And it says here, the best way to sum this up is in verse 26, because he says that for to the one who pleases him, God has given wisdom and knowledge and joy, but to the sinner, he's given the business of gathering and collecting only to give to the one who pleases God. And I believe here, what Solomon is simply saying is that, those who find fulfillment in their life, they find fulfillment in the things that God desires for them to find fulfillment in, which once again is going after him and going after people, right? Like, they're going to enjoy their lives. They're going to have everything that they need. They're going to have the wisdom and the skill to provide for themselves and their families. They're going to have, the knowledge and the awareness to, know the things that are out there in life, and they had the opportunity to explore them. And then ultimately, they're going to have joy. They're going to be in a place where they truly appreciate everything that they have. And they're simply going to be happy with, the stuff that the way that their life is going. But ultimately, on the other side, he talks about the sinner, right? Because he says that they will have the business of gathering and collecting. And so essentially, to some extent, Solomon equates, the sinner to being somebody who's constantly like on the go, somebody who's constantly turning. And when you look at that, everyone, it may sound bad on the surface, but when you look at like the full value of what a sinner would be in this context, this is somebody who wants to have a life for themselves, right? Like, they're selfishly going after these things. They're selfishly working 24/7. And while they may have the belief that they're doing this for their family, ultimately, they're after this success for themselves. They're after this for their own gain, for their own conceit, and ultimately for their own pride. And I can tell you that to some extent, for the longest time in my life, I was definitely in this category. I was definitely in the shade of somebody who didn't really trust God and was willing to work, as many hours as I had to in order to find success in this world, or at least success in the sense of, material wealth, material gain, and shelter and stability. And while to some extent I have achieved that over my life, I could say and look back on my life and the stuff that I've done to say that I did achieve what I guess say my worldly vision of success was, of being able to provide for myself and the people that I love. Ultimately, it also left me in a state of depression, left me in a state of unfulfillment, because I was working so hard to sustain that lifestyle that I really didn't get a chance to enjoy, the money that I made and the people that I was surrounded by. And so here, literally, as he said, they get the business of gathering and collecting. That is their reward. That is their fulfillment, the ability to just continue accumulating resources, only to give it away to those who please the Lord, right? Because when you look at it in the larger sense, the people who work for their money and they're working their time that are not enjoying it, right? They typically give that money away, right? They'll give it to, the people in their lives, like they'll loan it off to them, if they need the money or whatever. And they won't get a chance to fully enjoy it themselves. And so that's really the best way that I could, explain or describe this verse in a way that, would help people relate or understand it. To simply know that, God simply wants us to enjoy life. He just wants us to enjoy, once again, him and the people that he surrounds us by, because ultimately that is the true definition of success. That is the definition and, the epitome of what our work can bring us. But the opposite side of that is being somebody who's willing to work, as often as possible, who's willing to lose sleep, who's willing to lose their time, who's willing to pour their lives into establishing their businesses and careers, but never truly being in a place where, they find joy and fulfillment in those things. And this is something that he simply sums up as the being of vanity and the striving after a win. Once again, of something that's being empty in life, something that brings no value to you, and something that you truly cannot grasp, something that isn't tangible, something that isn't going to benefit you over the long term. And ultimately, when you look at our lives in this way and you look at the reality of the stuff that we did, everyone, summing this up, ultimately, there's joy in the stuff that we do, but at the core of it, when you look at the grand scheme of what God desires us to do, it simply pales in comparison, because he wants us to be in a place where we see success as a way to love him and love others, and see our work not as something that we pour our lives into, but it's something that we use to, expand and grow the lives that we have around us, right? We should never be in a place where we spend all of our days working. We spend all of our weekends, striving to achieve our goals for our business to bring in money, because although, those things are necessary, once you reach a certain level of success, or once you reach a certain level of prosperity, there really is no need for you to continue to pour all of your life into these things. And this is something that I contemplated even before popping on here today, because, as I look at my life, as I look at my career, as I look at all of the things that I did, I can tell you that there was like a clear point where I needed to work, right? I needed to learn. I needed to learn to build my skills. I needed to build my network. I needed to, build up my portfolio to where I could find great jobs in my field. But then there was also a cutoff time where I had actually achieved all the stuff that I needed to be successful, and to continue to pour more hours and more effort into that only drained me of, the life that I could have had with my family, or the relationships that I could have built, and even into like the personal and the romantic sense, right? And it's something that, I look back on today and I can only just be in wonder about, because it just puts me in a place where I just imagine like what my life could have looked like if I would have learned these lessons sooner. And I guess here, this is really just bringing the full circle of what Solomon was talking about, of how, our lives and stuff are like lessons, but they should truly be passed down to people. We shouldn't see them as something like, this shouldn't have happened to me, but I'm going to hold on to it and not share it with people, but instead to tell people like, hey, if you have this opportunity to see life in this sense, please see life in the sense, because, here you're going to find enjoyment, and you're probably going to avoid years of heartbreak, years of headaches, and years of, depression because of that. And so here, if I could leave you with nothing else as we conclude this Bible study once again, is to just look at success in that way, to see success as a way that you love God and you love the people around you, and you're willing to support them in the way possible, and not to see success in the worldly sense of us working constantly to achieve a certain goal or to accumulate a certain amount of money, because as Solomon says here, this stuff is vanity and a striving after a win, because it'll never be enough for us. After we hit one goal, where it's human nature to continue hitting newer goals after that. After we reach one milestone in our business or our careers, it's just human nature to continue wanting to have more milestones. And so ultimately, you want to take the same passion and stuff that you have for your business, of course, still use it to provide for your families and the life that you have, but then also, but to take the rest of that passion, the other 80%, and pour it into the people and the things that really matter to you, because ultimately those are going to be the things that's going to be sustained over this course in time. And I can tell you that this has been, even to a personal state, a struggle that I've dealt with for years, but it's something that, with the grace of God, I've slowly been able to kind of give up and to truly enjoy. And I'm telling you that my life has been so much better because of it. And I can tell you to some extent that my life has to some extent been a wreck because I didn't always follow these things. But ultimately, everyone, just continue to love God, continue to love the people around you, and continue to really see, the world for what it is, and pour your value into the people that he's given you, because ultimately that's what true success is. And once you go down that route, your life will forever be changed. But anyway, that more or less concludes this Bible study for today. As always, of course, if you loved it, please be sure to like and share this video with people who may have appreciated it. And if you feel so compelled, please be sure to check out the Wisdom in Christ community. This is the online community that we've created to really help people learn how to have a relationship with Christ. And it's something that I've been working on for a little bit, and it's something that we're starting to get really active in. So it's definitely something I want you to check out and truly become a part of, because ultimately, everyone, while we're on this raft and road of faith, we're going to have obstacles, we're going to have struggles, we're going to deal with, things like success that we talked about today. But ultimately, if you're on this journey and you know that you're with other people by your side that are going through the same things, you're able to find encouragement and belonging with them. And you're truly able to experience the fullness of, what this walk of faith is like. So definitely check out the community if you're interested, and be sure to join, and we will be happily and able to welcome you with open arms. But with that being said, everyone, I want to thank you for tuning into this video. Once again, I want to thank you for being the amazing person that you are. And I truly hope and pray that, your life and your perspective of success may have been changed by this, and that you will truly value the things that God has given you in your life. But until next time, take care, be blessed, and continue to be the amazing people that God has created you to become. Peace.